In this episode, Golden and I discuss Season 1 of the Netflix animated series Arcane. Full speed ahead.
The Omega Beam. Full power. The Omega Beam.
Welcome to the Omega Beam number 159. I'm your host, Oren Merton. Did you know that Netflix is streaming an animated series based on the League of Legends game by Riot Games? There are just 9 episodes, but man, they are something. We have a majority spoiler-free discussion, but we do get into spoilers towards the end. Don't worry, though, we'll let you know before we do. So let's get into it. I am here with Golden to talk about Arcane, the animated Netflix series based on the League of Legends video game series by Riot Games. So this was one that I think when we first heard about it, we were like, oh, okay, and I think we saw the trailer and thought it looked cool, but then we sort of just went on to other things.
We also watched the music video.
Right, we watched the Imagine Dragons music video, and it looked really cool, but since it wasn't a franchise we'd heard of or anything, I think we just sort of went on to other things we were more familiar with.
It just kind of was in the background and was one that we needed to come back to.
Right, and then we just started hearing from friend after friend after friend how amazing the animation was and that they loved the series. So we decided to give the 9 episodes a shot. So what did you think?
It was really incredible. It is just gorgeous.
Absolutely.
The animation is beautiful and the cinematography.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say it's cinematography. You think about cinematography with mainly movies or TV shows, but the way that they actually thought about the perspective and how to, I'm not going to say film, but how they filmed it in animation and how they take the viewer through the scene with the character or around the character or through the action that's happening. What they choose to zoom in on or pull back from, the perspective. There is a lot of artistry in every single episode and every single scene.
Absolutely, and they do. The director and everything, they do talk about it in cinematography terms, so that's certainly appropriate. This is the same kind of unique animation style of Sony's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, to the point that at first I thought they were the same people, but they're not. This is a French company that did this series, but they were sort of drawn to the same concept of you use sort of 2-dimensional paintings on 3-dimensional graphics, using some hand-painted on the frame images for effect every now and again, and it really is amazing. It really takes animation to a different level, and I think what's great about Arcane and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and this style is that it really shows you what the possibilities are with animation, as opposed to just, we're making a cartoon. That this is really next level, and it's gorgeous, it's fantastic, and just like with Into the Spider-Verse, what makes it work in addition to how wonderful it looks is a really compelling story and 3-dimensional characters. Without those, you just have a really great kind of technological preview. But you have a really engaging story. To give this brief version of it, there are 2 sisters, Vi and Powder, who are from the poor end of the city, and called the Undercity, I believe. And they, through circumstances, lose their parents, and then through even worse circumstances, lose each other. And it's sort of about the politics of the city, the way that the city is so divided, and how different elements, both above and below, are trying to get what they want and make the best of it, either for themselves or their constituency. And it's a deeper story than you'll get from just a children's cartoon. It's still, for all the sort of mature level of violence, it's not a bloody show. There is death off camera, basically, but there's never a whole lot of blood in front of you or anything. So it's not like Rick and Morty or something where, there's all kinds of gore right in your face. Or the Sex, Love, and Robots cartoons, which also get pretty violent. So I think that it maintains kind of an all ages while still being a very mature story. And then the animation is just incredible. And it's not just the animation, it's the entire production. I thought the sound, the score was also really good. It could be soft when it needed to be. It could be incredibly energized and rock when it needed to be. And they had some popular songs and artists as well in there, and just a really great production.
Yeah, it's like I said, it is gorgeous. I love how they've styled, and not being as familiar with the game, I'm sure that the game is probably gorgeous as well.
Yeah, I'm not that familiar with the game. I'm slightly familiar because I know a bunch of people who play it, though I'm not one of them. From what I understand is this isn't a TV series that follows the game so much as it took the world of the game and they just ran with it. And they made their own story out of it, which is probably a better way to do it.
So looking in the trivia, like I like to do, it says that Fortiche Productions made a music video named Get Jinxed for Riot in 2013, and it had already featured Jinx and the city, and the animation style was basically the same. So Riot was impressed and said that they wanted them to make a series for them. So it's been a while to get it in production. And Season 2 is already approved, and Season 2 will be happening quicker than it took Season 1, of course, to make it.
Excellent.
So I could watch this. I could just watch the episodes just for how beautiful it is. There are certain scenes that you're just watching Jinx, and as she's shooting and those braids are just swirling around, it is a gorgeous dance.
Yeah, it is truly amazing what they were able to do, kind of walking the line between realistic enough that it feels grounded, but also just completely unreal in the sense that this is animated and they don't need to be, held to what is possible in a real camera with real people. So it's just wonderful. If you enjoy animation, I can't imagine not enjoying this. I mean, it's possible that just as a story, you may not get into the story, but I think it's just so enjoyable.
I think the story is really well done as well.
I love the story. I was really drawn in.
And it was interesting coming off of Hawkeye to hear Haley Steinfeld in a role that she does an incredible job not being Haley Steinfeld.
Right. Yeah, she's a great actor, a great voice actor, and she inhabits this animated character that is nothing like previous roles or her own personality when she's interviewed. So,
did you happen to look at the Rotten Tomatoes for this?
It's incredibly high.
In terms of critic score?
I think it was like 92, right?
Average tomato meter is 100%. Now, the audience, 97%. And I can't disagree because it's
that good.
It is really that good. It is very gory. It does have, in terms of violence and gore, it's severe. There is some profanity.
But I think most of the blood is off camera.
And there's a lot of drugs and alcohol. It is still severe in terms of for animated shows and things like that. It's not invincible.
I was going to say, it's not at the level of some of the stuff we watch where it's just constant blood and gore all the time.
But no, it is definitely a show that I would love to suggest to my students, but I cannot because of the level of violence and gore. I would probably have to say, okay, well, you might want to watch this. This is kind of neat. But make sure you get your parents' permission first, which, of course, I know they probably don't do that. They just go and watch it. But again, then it's probably less violent and has less profanity than some of the things that they do watch on their own.
Speaking of blood and gore, one of the most minor things, but one of the most squicky to me, is that the main villain of the series, named Silco, you see him on the trailer, so his existence is not a spoiler or a surprise. But when you see him, you'll notice that one of his eyes is like dark and filled with, I think, shimmer, the drug.
It's something else, I think.
Okay, well, something is filling his eye.
No, I don't think he ever takes shimmer.
Whatever it is, it's that same color.
And the first time that we see it administered, I don't think that shimmer has been perfected yet.
Maybe not. but he's got something going on with his eye, and he needs to like constantly relieve pressure by basically sticking a needle in his eye to get out whatever liquid is in there. And that's one of the more squicky thing in the entire series, in my personal opinion, but that's because my eyes water whenever I see someone playing with their eyes. But yeah, there's people shooting at each other and stabbing and fighting and, you know, all the rest. So there is, of course, a lot of action. But at the same time, there is a lot of just character moments between characters that are just either talking with each other or trying to do things together that aren't violent.
So I'm going to say something that is a little bit of a spoiler. So
3, 2, 1 spoilers.
I'm surprised that we never came back to the backpack.
Oh, in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that we've never come back to that, because there's still some of that raw energy out there. Or maybe it's already like somehow leaked into the river or the water.
Maybe. But, you know, season 2, there's always season 2. But yeah, it's a very sort of, for those of you who are wondering, I mean, obviously it's genre and that's why we're talking about it, but I would put it in the sort of steampunk category. It's, in some ways, it's a little bit more Victorian. It's sort of Victorian with sci-fi. They've got rifles. They've got swords and knives.
And the animation is not locked down.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the scene. I'm thinking about the scene between Echo and Jinx on the bridge. And it's this callback to, and other animation uses this, that memories get sketchy.
Right.
And I really like that. And that's something that actually goes back to, I don't know, I'd be interested to know who did it first. But I remember in the Black Orchid graphic novel, there's a part where it goes into memories. And those memories are very sketchy. They're sketched instead of being fully developed. And the whole scene between Echo and Jinx, when she's about to fire on him and he's about to approach her, goes sketchy, and then you have Powder and Echo, the children, playing before the actual fight occurs.
Right, and they play with animation other times too. You know, since we're in the spoiler section, I thought it was really interesting how, I think it was that same episode you just talked about, where in the sort of pre-credits part where they sort of introduce the story of the episode, because we were entering Echo's world, and his team of freedom fighters are very sort of hip-hop.
I think it was the Boy Savior is the way
it
starts out that way.
Yeah, and it totally goes into a sort of modern hip-hop, almost graphic design style, with not just the music, but the graphics and the pictures that they show. And it was just it was an incredible contrast, but it moved the story. It wasn't just for style's sake.
Yeah.
It was incredibly stylistic,
And
but
no matter,
it moved the story.
every single time you see Jinx / Powder, you want to pull for her. You want to be able to save Powder.
Right.
Because Jinx is just really just crazy, and she's having so many issues.
Yeah, well, again, you know, talk about great character development. You saw her even before Powder became Jinx. You saw her beginning to break, just as Powder, sitting on her bed, talking to her toys. I mean, she was clearly beginning to break. And then when she ends up accidentally killing a bunch of her friends, that kind of pushes her over the deep end.
And it's interesting that they are using 2 different voice actresses for Powder and Jinx.
Yeah, I guess in a way you could say that this is the more sort of serious, severe, and less comic book version of what would happen to Harley Quinn were she a more real individual, that she wouldn't be this stylized anti-hero, that she would have been this insane lunatic like this. But yeah, I mean, they do a wonderful job with her character, and that amazing production and animation just helps so much just round it all out and create something that is new, and that isn't easy to do.
If you are looking for something that is gorgeous to watch, has a great story, character development, isn't just eye candy, music's pretty good, it is definitely one to catch.
Yeah, the 100% critics rating and the 97% audience rating is absolutely earned.
What was Mel's mother's name?
Oh, I don't remember.
Mbessa. It was really interesting towards the end of the series to find out just a little bit more about Mel.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Mom, oh wow. Was Mom something?
And we'll see what happens in season 2 because we don't know how...
yeah, they kind of left us on a cliff there.
Yeah, they definitely left us on a cliffhanger. Well, thank you, Golden.
You are welcome.
And that's it for this episode. You can find the show notes at theomegabeam.com/159. If you like this episode, please leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Your reviews help people who like this stuff find our podcast. If you have any comments or suggestions, please drop us a line at info@theomegabeam.com. Be good to yourselves and each other, and we'll catch you next time.
The Omega Beam. Full stop.